Okay, so I'm not feeling awesome about this hair. And there is no but. Okay, what I thought we could talk about today, and I have a bunch of ideas on my computer, but I was like, what if we didn't do any of them? What if we go straight off the dome and tell my coming out story? Oh, and if it looks like I'm sweating in this video, it's because I'm sweating in this video. Like, what's new, you know what I mean? Like, something about me is, if you tried to pick me up, like, I would slip through your fingers like a greased hog sometimes. Like, I just feel like I sweat way more than a normal person. And maybe there's something wrong with me. Wouldn't be the first time. Okay, so let's dive right in. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Grace. I am currently identified as a lesbian. It took a while to get there. And a lot of people, when they talk about coming out or realizing they're gay, they're like, I just knew. I was 2 years old and I knew. And it's like, okay, I was 16 and like, wait a minute. But when I was little, I definitely did have some crushes, and I feel like when I had crushes on boys, it was really because I wanted to be their friend. And when I had crushes on girls, it was because I thought I wanted to be their friend, but maybe it was something more. And I feel like that's such like a quintessential gay experience, is like all your crushes that were normal were really just wanting to be their friend, and all the times that you wanted to be someone's friend, it was really a crush in disguise. But we didn't know how to differentiate those feelings when we were young, because we were taught that any positive emotions that we feel towards a man or someone of the opposite sex means that we like them. Like, oh, he's funny, that means I have a crush on him. When really it's like, he's funny and I like to spend time with him. And something I'll say is that, like, since I came out, the friendships that I have with guys feel so much more authentic, just because you know there's no chance of like anything happening there, so you're fully able to like just be friends, which is weird to say right now, because it's like, okay, it's 2023, it should be normal to have friends who are like the opposite gender and there's no like romantic connection there. But I feel like that's something that was always kind of unspoken or like lurking underneath the surface. Maybe we like each other kind of thing, and just to have that gone feels like your friendships are so much more real. I remember I was a competitive dancer when I was younger, and I went to a dance convention when I was, I think, 11. And I remember seeing this girl with short hair dance, and I was like obsessed with her. And I like had a breakdown on my stairs privately at home, and I was like, like kind of knowing that I was attracted to her, but I was like, no, it's just because she has short hair like a boy, because boys have short hair. And actually before that, going back a bit, because I forgot to mention this, when I was like 7, I had a breakdown to my mom, and I remember just like sobbing and crying, and my sisters being like, what's wrong, what's wrong? Okay, I have such sensitive skin. Like, did you see me just scratch it like that, and now I already have this. Anyway, and I remember telling my mom, I'm like Ellen, because we would all like Ellen DeGeneres, because we would always watch Ellen, and like the 12 Days of Giving or like whatever it was, we would watch it all the time. And I just had this realization that I resonated with her being gay, and I was like, I'm like, and then the next day my mom took me to an orthodontist appointment, and like I had to leave school to go to the orthodontist, and she turned around to like talk to me, and she was always so supportive, but like she turned around to talk to me, and she's like, so I've been thinking about what you said yesterday. And I was like, yeah, I made that up, that was not real. And then for literally years after that, so that happened when I was what, 7 or 8, for years after that, I would bring it up and be like, remember when I thought I was gay? That was crazy. I was so crazy for thinking that. The whole time I was. Anyway, and when I was in middle school, it was very much like a bad thing to be gay. Like, there was this girl, and people were like, oh my God, did you hear she's bisexual? And it was like, she's so like weird for that. And I remember when I was in 8th grade, and I was gonna be going to an all-girls high school, which was not and I had gone to public school my whole life, and then I was gonna be going to a private high school that was all girls. And people would be like, I heard there was like a lot of lesbians there. And then there would be people who were like, are you gonna become lesbian? And it was like said with such a like disdain for what that means. It wasn't like, oh, there's a lot of lesbians there. It's like, there's a lot of lesbians there. And people asking me if I would become gay, and it's like, literally, yes. Like, and we'll talk about like going to an all-girls school when you're gay, because that is an experience that is a lot more common than you might think. Okay, so come high school. First week of classes, I become fixated on this girl in my Spanish class. And I'm like, oh my God, she's like so beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, I have a crush on her. And I was like, okay, we're gonna push that down actually for a couple years. And and then when I was 15, I really was like, okay, I definitely feel, sorry if you can hear that siren, that's kind of annoying, but whatever. I'll just wait. Okay, but I think it's when I was 15 that I really felt head over tea kettle, which I don't know if that's actually a saying or just something that the women who lived next to me when I was growing up would say. I felt like head over heels for this person in my class. I was obsessed with this person, and I like memorized their schedule so that I could bump into them in the hallways. I like tried to get in with their friend group because I wanted to be like closer to them, and it was such like it was like the most all-encompassing crush I've like ever had in my life, and it was crazy, and it went on for years. And then I finally told them that I liked them and they were seeing someone else, but whatever. That was like, I really knew for sure. And in that time, I would also have like a bunch of mini crushes on people, and someone once told me I'm a bad person for that, but like, it's not like I was dating any of them. I just had crushes on a bunch of people. Like, what? And I remember feeling so like I couldn't talk about it, and like I had this huge secret that was like weighing on me, and I couldn't open up about it. And I don't know why that was. Like I do know why, because like internalized homophobia, but I was like, I don't want to say anything unless I'm absolutely 100% sure. And I was spending like all my days on Tumblr. I was like asking questions to like people's question boxes that were for like people figuring out their sexuality and like trying to figure out what I was. I was watching like a lot of Hayley Kiyoko music videos, a lot of them. It's so fun to look back because they make me just like so happy, or to listen to that music and think about like where I was in my life and in my journey, and like, I don't know, it's really nice. Nostalgic, though at the time I was miserable. And I do that so often where I'm like, geez, like my girlfriend and I were just talking about this because she does the same thing where you look back on a period in your life and you think, oh, I was so happy. And then you think about it and you're like, actually, no, I wasn't. Anyway, so after years of having this main crush on someone, I wrote this letter like saying how much I loved them, and like how nothing ever has to happen, but I just had to say it. I had to get it off my chest. And I wrote it in a letter and I gave it to them on the last day of school so that we would then be gone for the summer. And I got turned down and I was crushed for a little bit. I like had 3 days where I was like crazy and just like crying and feeling so awful. And I had and this was how I ended up coming out the first time. Well, if you ignore the Ellen thing, this was when I really came out, because I was just sobbing, and my mom was like, what's going on? And I was like, I'm gay. What's crazy, like, and she didn't care. She was so supportive. I have the most supportive family ever. And you know, I would also like jump around from being like, I'm bisexual, I'm gay, I'm bisexual, I'm gay, and I would date a lot of men. And it wasn't until literally last year that I was like, I'm so done with dating men. And I remember during COVID, I had like a little 10-month thing where I was just like talking to this guy, and I would go through these phases of feeling emotionally distant. Emotionally distant is what I would call it, but really what I was dealing with there is I wasn't feeling attracted to him, and I didn't know how to like keep talking to him like I was when I knew I wasn't. And I would be able to push that down, and because we were just talking, and it was during like when COVID was really bad, we never hung out. And that's a life hack. If you are gay, make sure you get in a relationship where you're never gonna have to see the person if they're the opposite gender and you're not wanting that. But I was still like I was still figuring it out. Like relationships with men didn't feel good, but I had never done anything different, because even though I knew I was gay since I was 16, and probably some part of me knew earlier when I was a little kid, but I just brushed that down, and I wasn't able to fully reckon with it until I was in my teen years, at a school where a teacher got fired for being gay, but most of the student body was gay anyway. So that's like a whole other video I can make. Even though part of me knew, it's like I was still trying to make it work with guys. And it wasn't until last fall that I posted something on my story where I was like, I'm working on something, like I want to hear people's thoughts and experiences with internalized homophobia and like compulsory heterosexuality. Whole time the thing I was working on was figuring out my own sexuality. So I got all these responses from people, and I was like, oh, interesting. And it's like, there was no project. There was nothing that I was working on except myself, but I like wanted to be able to ask it without like outing myself. And then it was really fall of what was that, 2021, where I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm fully gay, I'm lesbian, I'm dating only women from now on. And that is what I have done since, and it has been very nice. And I remember the first time I hung out with my girlfriend, that was about a little over a year ago, and I remember being so nervous that I went to our date and I was just shaking, like I could not stop shaking because I was just so nervous. And I remember afterwards, like one time after that, we like FaceTimed, and I remember just thinking, oh my god, I want to talk to her forever. I want to ask her about her family. I want to ask her about all these things. I want to know everything about this girl. Like, I'm obsessed. That was actually crazy because then I took a gap semester, so I wasn't in the city for a long time. So we didn't start officially dating until this year. We had been like talking that whole time, and I don't know, there was just something about it where I was like, I feel more for this girl that I barely know than I felt for men that I like fully was dating. Like, it was such a difference in how I felt leading up to it and how I felt about those first few dates, that I was like, okay, this means something. And in terms of like a big coming out, I didn't really do that. I just kind of slowly revealed it. I didn't do any post that was like, I'm gay. I was just more like, I'm gay, and I'm slipping that information into different things and different things that I say instead of doing a big coming out. And yeah, so, and I want to say that, like, something I mentioned earlier is that I wanted to be 100% sure before I came out as anything, but you don't have to be 100% sure. Like, you might be wrong, and that's okay. Like, it doesn't, and it shouldn't keep you from living the life that you want to live now just because you're not 100% sure. Like, try things out, try labels on, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and you never have to come out. But I guess that's a whole other video, but that's my little story time for today. I hope it resonated with you, and yeah, thank you for watching.